So let's switch over and see. I got a few things that I want to start out with tonight. I hope you guys are doing good. Welcome to the Justang Show. If you haven't already, please subscribe, follow, and subscribe. Trying to bring some information to you guys out here that we are under attack by spiritual forces that are far beyond our understanding. So now we start out with some of David Wilcocks. Information from him, as we all know that he just recently, unfortunately, passed away of what we can assume is probably not a suicide. Now, if this was a one-off, I would believe that. But because it's in a string of now, what, a dozen or so missing dead scientists, I'd say that there might be something fishy going on here. Let's say somebody's behind it. So, let's just start down here with the wildest one. The wildest one. But how wild is it? Because before this, I was actually looking for the document. In the Epstein files, there was a file about the United States going into Iraq and looking for the resurrection tomb in the tomb of Gilgamesh. So let's take a look at what David Wilcock has to say about this looking glass device.
The mission of capturing a looking glass technology that was dug up in Sumer, which was originally in the possession of Gaddafi in Libya, which is why they attacked Libya. Gaddafi got rid of it and gave it to Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein was using this technology, viewing the future. The U.S. government went in after him because they felt that the fate of the world was at stake, because if they did not capture this technology and get it back and deconstruct it, that the Earth would have a pole shift. But when you actually decipher these letters, it means the doctrine of the convergent timeline paradox. Here's the problem. You look through time with this device, and when you hit 2012, everything goes perfectly white. As you get closer and closer to 2012, starting in around 1980, a very strange thing has been happening when they use the looking glass. There is an interlacing of images. So right now, imagine that if I had this slide on half the time, and in the other half of the time, there was an image of like a face. And if I interlace them slowly, then maybe every second it goes from here to the face to here to the face. Then as it speeds up, it gets faster and faster to the point that if it were complex images, you couldn't make out one from the other because they're flip-flopping so fast, okay? That's called interlacing, and the frequency of the interlacing gets higher and higher as you go towards 2012. So anytime that they try to look at, or they used to try to look because they're not using them anymore, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, bam. It's so interlaced that they have a whole server farm of computers just to deconstruct the two images.
That's what the AI,
and be able to
maybe
see
that's what the data farms
are
for, or the data centers.
So again, this is what they're using. This is one of the main ones they're using, the Orion Cube as they call it, or the Cube. And also it's being used with looking glass. But what's going on with 2012? Well, here's another very interesting thing. We have multiple parallel futures that we can choose. And 2012 literally does represent create your own reality time. It has everything to do with what do you expect is going to happen. This is where thoughts becoming reality really takes on a whole new meaning in a way that you've never heard of before.
Listen, if you are still at the point where you can hear something like that and go, that's ridiculous, then you need to wake up. Pay attention to what's been going on.
What I discovered that the people with the elongated skulls are survivors of a catastrophe that took place in our solar system. And what I find uniquely fascinating is that once they crash landed on Earth 55,000 years ago, they quickly made a treaty with each other. Even though they were at war, they decided to coexist on the Earth. One lineage said, we will take what we would now call Africa and Europe. The other lineage said, we will take South America, North America, and the eastern half of Asia.
You know, and this is obviously, all of this ties into biblical scripture. So is this Jacob and, is this Seth and Cain? you know, who are Enki and Enlil something Cain? I don't know, but these questions, I know that this is all interwoven.
Now, what I find particularly intriguing is that when you look at the pyramid architecture that occurred in the aftermath of this treaty, there are slight variations. Each of these original lineages had unique styles to their pyramids.
Boy, yeah, and here's the big one. Here's the big one. See if you guys can put the pieces together on this big puppy right here.
These people honestly believe that they are the descendants of gods, that they are the chosen, that they are God's special people, that we are delusional, and that the true creator is this wisdom principle that they think of as Lucifer, that wisdom principle gave us ancient mystery school teachings, and that the enemy, which they call Adonai, the adversary, which we would call the Christian God, came to try to defeat them. Then they even take it a step further and they look at texts like the Bible and they say that where it says in the end times that God will take the money from the wicked and restore it to the just, that we as a planet are the wicked and they are the just. So this is how they justify their financial corruption. They don't believe that we deserve the money. In fact, they believe that if they did not dominate us, and if they did not control us and play all these games, that we left to our own devices would destroy our planet. So in some twisted rationale, they believe they are saving the earth, they believe humans are bad for the environment, we cause pollution, so they have to reduce population. Then they seed that into movies like The Matrix, where Agent Smith says that humans are like a virus on the planet. This is one of a variety of ways in which they will usually embed their teachings into the villain.
All right, let's go one
These
step
people
further. See what
honestly
else,
believe
because I mean,
that they are the descendants of gods, that they are the chosen, that they are God's
He got killed for telling the truth.
Very depressing, and it woods and
well, I'll explain it to you later, buddy. It has to do with these people that
the rules
worship the
are
devil.
a body of spiritual principles that they must follow in order to be allowed to exist. Now, what do I mean by allowed to exist? I mean that they are aware that there are benevolent forces that will prevent them from achieving their goals unless we give them permission to enslave us. Ultimately, the universe is intelligent, alive, and conscious, and it is benevolent. It is a benevolent consciousness. That consciousness does not allow the negative to succeed unless it is invited. So the Cabal has made a science, a very elaborate science, out of studying these arcane, occult, magical principles that allow them to get away with what they do. So they have to put out everything that tells you who they are in music videos, in these Super Bowl halftime shows, the Grammy Awards ceremonies. They're out there showing you the truth. This is what people are going to have so much trouble with once disclosure happens, is that these people actually practice black magic, and they are very, very good at it.
Yep.
Moving into some greater level of what it means to be human. And one of the people who is of very high interest is Namkhai Norbu. I found this book that Namkhai Norbu wrote in approximately 1995 or 96. I don't exactly remember. And I read this before I had any idea that any of this had anything to do with me personally. The book is called Dream Yoga and the Practice of Natural Light, and what it describes is a series of meditative practices followed by the Tibetans in which their goal is to reach that state between being awake and being asleep. Before you have a dream, before you go into that other place, is also the state between living and dying. The death state is what they call the bardo, but in between is something they call the Dzogchen, or the mother light. That is the true primordial essence of the universe.
I really think that
about ascension. I would want the world to know that we are very, very close. And all the people on the inside know this. This is the key of disclosure. We are very close to some sort of energetic shift that the sun is going to do. There have already been multiple experiments, I've heard this from several insiders, in which they take ordinary folks and they put them into a room and they zap them with the energy that our sun is going to give off when we go through this change. They become very blissed out. They start to get really telepathic. They can move things with their mind. Everybody kind of goes into a psychedelic trip. Our government knows that this is going to happen, where there's no veil left, where we are
in prayer. This is
wide
honestly,
open to reality.
from
I
God.
want the world to know about Ascension. I would want the world to know that we are.
And so now, we'll talk about the black cube, okay? And you see the black cube.
Cube of death.
You see the black cube in things like the Kaaba in Islam and in the Teflon in Judaism. So why do you see them in those two things? Well, it seems like it has to do with Saturn worship, okay? And the way that it ties into Saturn is the hexagon at the top, which can be made into a cube. So let's just read the conspiracies. Let's read the conspiracies here. The Saturn black cube and hexagon represent a convergence of scientific observation and esoteric symbolism, linking the planet's unique hexagonal storm to a cube shape frequently found in occult, religious, and cultural contexts. Theorists argue this pattern symbolizes Saturn as a force of limitation, time, and hidden power. So, let's do conspiracy here. Okay, the Saturn hexagon and black cube conspiracy is an esoteric theory that's suggesting that humanity is trapped in a cosmic prison controlled by the planet Saturn. Theorists link the permanent hexagonal storm on Saturn's north pole to a three-dimensional black cube that supposedly governs time, karma, and material reality. So,
That does not sound good.
no, it doesn't. So this also comes into, the cube, the black, the cult of the black cube, and well,
Is it
I don't know,
Asian?
because it represents death, it represents limitation,
It represents Asians.
yeah, in time. And I'll have to find the scripture in which I believe, God, that it says that Satan has dominion over death. Let's go see if that is true, if it's it. It says, let's see, biblically, while Satan has historically held the power of death by introducing sin and the fear of mortality to humanity, this dominion is limited, subordinate, and was ultimately broken by Jesus Christ. So let's, well, this is, exactly, and it's even when Jesus was killed, I believe, even in the Talmud, it's basically like, all of our magic stopped working. Wonder why. Okay, so this goes into the cult of the black cube, and this is these elites, and this is what we've seen, the terrible things that we saw in the Epstein files, okay? I can't talk about, but they are related to this ancient death cult. I believe that's, they've been around since the beginning of the beginning, apparently, and exert extreme control over us. And you can see when you start looking back now at America, and I mean even remembering through my youth and how these degeneracies were introduced to our society, and we were forced, told to accept them. It's crazy to see. I'm 43 years old, and I watched my country be destroyed. It's insane. But let's watch a video about the cult of Saturn. And I think a lot of times, man, when I start getting some more viewers, if we do, and I'm able to bounce off people, we'll start doing a little bit more. I know I'm showing you guys a lot of videos and stuff like that, but I really want us to be on the same page, man. And I feel like I'd just be repeating this stuff because it's so very good.
From Roman mythology, a distant planet. But what if this name hides a far older, more sinister truth? Many have heard of Saturn, the Roman god. But this is just one name for an entity worshipped across ages and cultures. After the Tower of Babel, as languages scattered, this same family of false gods received new names in new tongues. We're tracing who Saturn really is, his significance, and how he's depicted even in Scripture. This entity, often equated with Satan, is believed to actively abuse parts of creation to steal souls away from God. It requires man's consent, our disobedience. But this cult of Saturn actively works through spiritual Babylon to achieve this. This ties into end-time prophecies. a 42-month period of tribulation leading to Messiah's return. Revelation 13 describes a beast given authority by the dragon, Satan, to act for these 42 months. You won't miss this beast when he appears, making war against the saints, an event culminating in Messiah's return. How does the cult of Saturn operate? One key is abusing the very Spirit of God that permeates all creation. The Israelites at Sinai made a golden calf. But this wasn't just any idol. It represented specific deities. Stephen, quoting Amos, reveals they worshipped the tabernacle of Moloch and the star of your god Remphan, or Kaiwan. Kaiwan is an Assyrian name for Saturn. Sakut, often linked to Moloch, is another. The Roman Saturn, the Greek Kronos, the Egyptian Geb, or Ra, all point back to this same primeval entity, Azazel, Satan. Geb, the Egyptian Saturn, was called Father of Snakes, linked to ancient serpent cults. And Ra, the ultimate Egyptian patron god, is consistently identified as this Satan character. The occult knows this. Satanic temples openly display the black cube with Baphomet, symbols of Saturn, Azazel. Even NASA, with its relentless use of mythological names, displays this pattern. Their D-Wave quantum computer, a giant black cube. The symbolism is pervasive. The cube, the sphere, the all-seeing eye, all tied to this ancient cult, abusing creation's fabric. They attempt to manipulate the very spirit and power of God that fills the world, the power that records every deed and word. This is the cult of Saturn, an ancient rebellion, a modern deception, preparing the way for its final stand against the returning king, Yeshua. But the Creator and his Messiah will prevail. Understand the signs, know the enemy, and hold fast to the truth.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code. This is Base 4.
Open your eyes.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
Google has submitted an application to the EPA for an experimental use permit that would allow them to release 64 million mosquitoes in Florida and California over a 2-year period.
That sounds
Why,
good.
you ask? They're developing a new product, a subscription service, if you will, called Debug. It starts in a lab where they breed Wolbachia-infected mosquitoes, basically making it difficult for infected males to produce offspring. Then they use an AI sorting machine to separate males from females. They're distributed through a robot mechanism equipped on the Debug van. The van uses GPS and local population data to release them where they're most likely to mate with uninfected females. But no Google product is complete without the surveillance factor.
Actually, I know what I want to do. I want to do right here is I want to take the Edgar Casey map. Here we go. Here we go. Let's see what we come up with here. And that'll take a minute. That'll take a minute. Let's get back here.
They also have smart traps to monitor how many females versus lab-released males there are in the area. It's essentially mosquito control as a service. I'm honestly not educated enough to determine if this is a net negative or positive. I'm not a big mosquito fan, but I tend to err on the side of skepticism when it comes to biological intervention. Anyway, if you go to regulations.gov and search for this docket, you'll be able to read more and tell the EPA what you think with a comment. They're supposed to take public opinion into consideration before deciding to approve or deny the permit.
Supposed to? Yeah, I'm sure that actually happens. Now, I haven't done a lot of digging into this, so I don't know, and let's be honest, I'm no scientist. I don't know the intricate ins and outs of how exactly something like this is going to function. What I do know is that they are actively trying to find ways to depopulate. I also know that they're doing everything they can to decrease our birth rates, even going so far
now,
as...
what he just said, I want you to remember what he just said right there. And I want to tell you a part out of First Adam and Eve. It's called Satan's Confession, where Satan tells Adam his goal. Satan tells Adam, "It is the goal of me and my brethren to wage war on you and your seed until there is no human being left to inherit the kingdom of God."
Attempting to socially condition the entire population into believing that there's nothing wrong with just deciding midway through a pregnancy that you don't want it anymore. So I can't help but to be a little suspicious when they tell us that they've got millions of mosquitoes that have been either infected with something to keep them from being able to reproduce, or they've been genetically altered in such a way that can keep them from reproducing. And then when they try to mate, they're going to spread that to the female of the species, whose offspring are probably going to produce similarly altered mosquitoes, or it will just simply stop that mosquito's pregnancy from coming to term. They know that we can't protect ourselves against mosquitoes. If we want to go outside, we are going to come into contact with them. I can't help but to wonder if maybe the actual intent here is to spread whatever this genetic mutation is to humans. I mean, honestly, with as little as you can trust the scientific community, this may genuinely have nothing at all to do with mosquitoes. It is not outside the realm of possibility that is just simply a narrative. And they shouldn't be messing with this stuff anyway. Let's just say for a second that these scientists are 100% on the up and up. There's no shady business going on here. They're telling us the exact truth. They're not trying to deceive or hide anything. If they found a way to genetically alter a mosquito that would keep it from...
Here, we have the Edgar Cayce map of the United States. And what we've done is we've overlaid earthquake magnitude 4.0 and above. So, as you can see, this coast has gone. Now, there must have not been a lot of 4.0 and over, but we know that we had a lot of seismic activity, a lot of earthquakes around the Yellowstone. And the Yellowstone caldera would be, what, let's see. Here somewhere, something like this. Yeah, Wyoming. Yeah. I believe this is what's going to happen. I do. Look at the Appalachian Mountains. Even though, I do believe 100% that the Appalachian Mountains are going to be here until there is no here. They're older than the Atlantic Ocean itself. But, we've heard David Wilcocks, I think David Wilcocks, and there's been a lot of speculation that David Wilcocks was Edgar Cayce reincarnated. Now, is that something he said? Let's see if that's something. Did David Wilcocks say he was Edgar Cayce? Yes, paranormal researcher and television personality David Wilcocks explicitly claimed to be the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce. Bro, I don't know if my wife knows that. I gotta tell her that. David Wilcocks said himself that he was the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce. I thought it was just a thing people said. He himself claimed to be the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce. And have you ever seen pictures of both of them? Go look at pictures of both of them. That's friggin' weird, man. Let's do that. That'll be fun. If it'll work. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you. He won't go looking. Watch everybody do that and find themselves throughout history many times or something. Oh, it never ends. Oh, what am I getting noticed for? Mm, mm. Yo, Kendall, what's up, man? What's up, dude? I just watched I just watched a lot of stuff by David Wilcock, man. And let's go back. I want to watch one of them again to see if you have heard this yet. This is wild, man.
That the people with the elongated skulls are survivors of a
Wait, yes.
catastrophe that took
Wait,
place.
wait. No, here we go. This is it. This is it. This is the one.
The Iraq War had, to a large degree, the mission of capturing a looking glass technology that was dug up in Sumer, which was originally in the possession of Gaddafi in Libya, which is why they attacked Libya. Gaddafi got rid of it and gave it to Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein was using this technology, viewing the future. The U.S. government went in after him because they felt that the fate of the world was at stake, because if they did not capture this technology and get it back and deconstruct it, that the Earth would have a pole shift. But when you actually decipher these letters, it means the doctrine of the convergent timeline paradox. Here's the problem.
Man,
you look through
listen to
time with
this.
this
Listen to
device, and when you hit 2012, everything goes perfectly white. As you get closer and closer to 2012, starting in around 1980, a very strange thing has been happening when they use the looking glass. There is an interlacing of images. So right now, imagine that if I had this slide on half the time, and then the other half of the time, there was an image of like a face. And if I interlace them slowly, then maybe every second it goes from here to the face to here to the face. Then as it speeds up, it gets faster and faster to the point that if it were complex images, you couldn't make out one from the other because they're flip-flopping so fast, okay? That's called interlacing, and the frequency of the interlacing gets higher and higher as you go towards 2012. So anytime that they try to look at, or they used to try to look because they're not using them anymore, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, bam. It's so interlaced that they have a whole server farm of computers just to deconstruct
is that what these data
the two images
are going to be? So
be
they
able
can
to
use
see
this
what they're
looking
looking
glass
at in the future.
technology? I
So
mean,
again, this is what they're using. This is one of the main ones they're using, the Orion Cube, as they call it, or the Cube.
and in the Epstein files, it solidified the thought that we went into Iraq for the Tomb of Gilgamesh and the Resurrection Chamber. Those were also in the Podesta emails, I believe, or that was in the Podesta emails. And uh, I mean, this is getting on the scale of, and this stuff blows my mind. And I'll tell you something that's really starting to get me. When I had my surgery, I had an NDE. I had a near death experience. I'll tell you guys about it sometime. But weird shit's happened since then. My wife will tell you. But I forgot where I was going with this. But dude, something weird's going on. Something weird's going on. And he talks about 20. And have you heard the theory about CERN shifting us into a different reality in 2012? It seems to be a lot of this stuff coincides with the year 2012.
Place in our solar system. And what I
This stuff's wild, man. And I did not know. I just ran in here and told Tiffany. I did not know that I had heard the rumor. I thought it was just something people thought. But David Wilcocks himself, yes, paranormal researcher and television personality David Wilcocks explicitly claimed to be the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce. And I think that well, I don't know, man. Well, I'll be damned. Let me see. Let me send this to Tiffany. There we go. Oh, yeah. Kendall, you've been around horses, right? What kind of eyes do horses have?
Animals in this timeline. Number one, cow tipping. Cow tipping is not a thing. You cannot cow tip. There's no evidence of you can cow tip. Apparently, that is not a thing in this timeline. It's never been documented. It's not a thing. It changed in this timeline. Number two, horses can have mustaches. Yes, in this timeline, horses can have mustaches. Sometimes they shave them off.
This ain't the one I'm talking
but they
about
do
either.
have mustaches. Also, horses do not have round eyes. They have horizontal eyes. They
What
do not
the
have
fuck?
round eyes in this timeline. Apparently, we all just
I don't remember
that
this.
because in this timeline,
I remember
they
being
do
around
not have
horses.
round eyes. The
I
bald
remember
eagle
what
is
the eyes
America's
look
national
like.
bird. When did it become the national bird? How about last year, December of 2024 to be exact? That is when it became official that the bald eagle was America's national bird. In this timeline, there are Civil War camels. Yes, the camels fought in the Civil War. We have American camels, and they're here. They've been here since the Civil War, and there's actually famous ones in this timeline. I did not know that.
Anybody
Number
know
six,
that?
it is Smokey Bear.
I mean, not
it is
like
not Smokey the
this
Bear.
one too.
Apparently,
This one too.
It's always been Smokey Bear.
No!
Not Smokey the Bear. Apparently, we were all just out there misremembering and putting does and stuff because it's never been Smokey the Bear. It is
Okay, here's the thing that gets me. Smokey Bear, Smokey the Bear, they can change that. Whatever. The monocle on the Monopoly guy, they can change that. Whatever. What is going on with the horse eyes? I've been around livestock and horses my entire life. Bro, let's look a cow eye. This is what I remember a horse eye looking like. What the hell, man? Dude, I can't believe that.
top 6 changes of animals in this time.
And cow tipping. Cow tipping as well. I never went, but I had friends that went. So I can even scratch that one out. Let's just say everybody's bullshit. Like snipe hunting, cow tipping, snipe hunting. The horse eyes, I can't get with that. Eh? Oh, I don't know. I don't even know what's going on.
Lawnmower.
Huh?
Lawnmower.
Mm. But this is, I mean, this is wild, man.
Look, colors.
We're looking at Wolf Creek Pass on the FAA in Colorado, and it's the planetary-like object. There's two of them. If you look at them closely, it looks like there's lights on it. It really
I
does.
mean, yeah, this is
We're
wild
looking at
too.
Wolf Creek Pass on the FAA.
Jesus.
Shut my bear stump in it.
Let's see.
And we start wild. These niggas out here snitching.
This is how you know you drove your Aventador hard. When you park, it pops the wing back up because it got so hot that it needs to cool down.
Yeah, well, you know your Ford Falcon's gotten a little bit warm when you pop the bonnet and you just go to bloody...
This is how you know.
Well,
okay, gang,
anyway.
let's turn this speakeasy out, shall we?
All right, and what's happening today? So what has happened in the world that they're telling us? I really like. There are a few YouTube like journalists. They're like frontline guys that I like, but I mean, when you're just going off the script, let's see what's going on here, because I do know that there are a couple of things cosmically that are going on. We have an asteroid that is supposed to pass the closest to Earth. An asteroid is passed. It's supposed to be closer than the moon, and that's happening Monday. And then we have the sun that is having some kind of hissy fit, which to me indicates that this event. Oh yeah, Kendall. Hold on. Let me see. Oh, here you go.
Ascension. I would want the world to know about ascension. I would want the world to know that we are very, very close. And all the people on the inside know this. This is the key of disclosure. We are very close to some sort of energetic shift that the sun is going to do. There have already been multiple experiments, I've heard this from several insiders, in which they take ordinary folks and they put them into a room and they zap them with the energy that our sun is going to give off when we go through this change. Become very blissed out. They start to get really telepathic. They can move things with their mind. Everybody kind of goes into a psychedelic trip. Our government knows that this is going to happen, where there's no veil left.
Yeah, I think this is what's going to happen, and I think that this is what they're trying to stop. I think they're trying to stop it from happening to us, because it's only us it'll happen to. And they'll lose their stranglehold on humanity. Praise God.
I find uniquely...
Praise Jesus, because this is getting right. Oh, yeah, I don't know if this is legit, but I bookmarked it. Because everything's frequency. And it really makes me curious about things like this. This is another one too. Here we go. I want to see what this lady has to say right here about the COVID shot. I haven't watched this yet, and I'll walk off.
I was.
So which area are we going to start at?
There we go.
Why don't you just
I still want to hear it here.
As you've heard a lot of these hospital protocol
Yes.
killings,
Well,
as they call them.
I think one of the important things about my situation is that I was working in the Bay Area of California, where we had one of the most compliant populations in the country. We were compliant with not just the lockdowns and the masking, but also the COVID injections. So in my community, when COVID was first announced and they locked down the hospitals and they stopped the elective surgeries, our hospital completely emptied out.
All right, let's go.
And this was when I really first saw that
right,
we were
guys.
being lied to, because the public was being told in the news that the hospitals were full and overwhelmed, and they weren't. I had colleagues all over the state of California who worked in units all over the hospital in the acute care setting, and not once during that first year of COVID in 2020 and the winter of 2021 were our hospitals overwhelmed. I would say there was, during the winter of 2020 and 2021, when this happens every year, people come in with the flu. and the hospitals fill. It happens every year. It's been doing that for the whole 12 years I've been working in the acute care setting. So it was not unusual. We were not overwhelmed, and the public was being lied to. So that really opened my eyes to the fact that there were things going on that shouldn't have been going on. And then with the rollout of the isolations, they also started the COVID protocols. And I didn't notice right away the harm of these protocols until I had to tell family members that they couldn't come to the bedside of their dying loved ones. That, to me, was a crime against humanity and a violation of my oath that I knew right away should not have been happening. We isolate people in prison. We put them in the brig when they've done something wrong to torture them. And that's what I...
Wait, whoa, I messed up. Anyway, you remember this? You remember that? You remember when people had their hands against their glass as their mother died in a rest home or whatever, and now you know it was all for bullshit. I keep hitting the... Oops.
People died alone.
Yeah, people died alone.
Like I was being forced to do when I had to tell my patients' family members when they couldn't come into the hospital to be near their dying loved ones. So that was those small kinds of violations that I was recognizing, I think really helped me accept that I needed to more critically analyze what I was being told to do and what was happening around me in the hospital. So after going through those two things at the beginning of the COVID lockdowns, it really helped me to stop and think when I was being told to do things. Like the next thing was the administration of remdesivir. This was an experimental use authorization medication. It was the only drug that we were allowed to administer to patients who were hospitalized with COVID, and it was an antiviral. And I'd been taught in my undergrad, my bachelor's degree program for nursing, that you do not administer an antiviral more than 24 to 48 hours post-symptom onset for a viral infection. And so this medication was...
And see, God almighty, I keep doing this. And see, don't take this as gospel, but they were pumping from what I understand, they were pumping the COVID death numbers up. Somebody would come in from a gunshot wound and die, and as long as they had COVID, then they died of COVID. Like I said, don't tell you it's gospel, but I mean, everything else was being done dirty. I mean, I find it unbelievable that people continue to trust these people that constantly lied to them.
12 days post-symptom onset. So I would ask my colleagues, why are we giving this medication? The administrators, my hospital, why are we doing this? And
Kendall, I don't know if you replied to me. What are the thoughts of people you work with and people you're around? Is everybody on the same page, or are people still having trouble accepting this?
Their eyes would glaze over. And I would say to them, we have evidence showing that the administration of antivirals more than 2 days post-symptom onset causes more harm than good. The risk-benefit analysis does not correlate. And in addition to that, this was an experimental use product. And I knew that each one of those doses was over $3,000. So that was another huge red flag. In addition to that, the next part of the COVID protocols that was so extremely disturbing to me was the fact that at the onset
mixed bag.
Hospitalization
I feel you, man.
I
really, that's what I want, man. I want to bring our community together, get everybody on the same page with this, and everybody to understand that we all need to start looking seriously at, becoming a tighter-knit community and focusing on internally
not only were
preparing the best that we can for whatever scenario.
They were actually blocking it from our hospitals.
A lot of people do live in a bubble, brother.
So we have patients coming in who are being feared to death by the media. They're being isolated from their loved ones. They're having steroid treatments. So I'll say one more thing about these steroids, because this is really important. The COVID, whatever it was, virus, whatever COVID was, it caused more inflammation than we had ever seen in the hospital. So there's a lab value called CRP, and even with influenza and things like this, we had never seen the inflammatory marker of CRP jump so high as we did with COVID. So for the government and the CDC and these three-letter organizations to tell practitioners that they could not administer steroids, which is the
Right, inflammation, yeah.
this is the best treatment for an inflammatory process. It was absolutely criminal. You can't withhold steroids for the most inflammatory disease process that humanity has ever seen. So we have isolation of patients, fear-mongering from the media, withholding steroids, and the administration of remdesivir. Those were the things that I went to work and had to manage, where I every day felt like I was violating my oath as a practitioner. And ultimately, it wasn't until after the rollout of the shots where I just couldn't do my job anymore. So that was the next part of what I witnessed. So I, like I said earlier, worked in the Bay Area of California for an organization called Kaiser Permanente, and they have a full scope of care. Their structure is set up to where you get your primary care, your acute care, the pediatricians, all of the medications, and your vaccines, all in the same organization. So with the COVID vaccine, they were administering it at my hospital. So when in February, so they released these shots to the practitioners in January of 2021. But they didn't release it to the public until close to the end of February. So by the beginning of March, I was starting to notice that my hospital was becoming slammed. And this is unusual because we get, winter rushes. This is how the hospital works. It's dead in the summer and it's full in the winter. Like, this is the cycle. And so I started noticing in March of 21 that it was very peculiar that I was starting to get all these calls to come to work because the hospital was understaffed. And it did not stop. I was in graduate school at the time for my double nurse practitioner degree, so I would do 3 weeks at the hospital and then I'd take some time off and study for my schooling. So by June, when I went into the hospital, I was there for 3 weeks.
That's good, man. I think I think people are waking up, man.
March to April, and then another 3
More and more
weeks,
people are waking up, and that's what it's going to take. And that's why I'm trying to at least do the show. It's just what I can do. This is the thing I can do.
I would work doubles basically every single shift. I was getting phone calls 3 times, sometimes 4 times a day to come to work because they were so understaffed at the hospital. And then in June, my manager approached me and he said to me, Gail, this hospital has had 3 times more admissions than we have ever had since the hospital opened their doors. So that's a 300% increase.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Thank you, Jesus. Because
to the onset of these shots.
And that's what I tell my wife, and I watch a lot of these preppers and stuff, and one thing that a lot of people just don't seem to get is that nobody is going to lone wolf this. Like, it's not going to happen. So you're going to have a community for survival. We need a community for survival. We need people to depend on everybody that can do their part, but we can't have, there's not going to be any lone wolf, every man for himself. That's not going to work. So that's what people really need to understand, I think. But yeah, for sure. But yeah, actually, yep. But Kendall, dude, if you want to hang around, I'm going to end this stream so I can keep it low enough I can clip it, and then I'm going to come right back. I'm going to play some games, I think. So if you want to hang out, I'll be right back in just a couple of minutes.